I think we could pretty much all agree Fallout 76 has had kind of a rocky history, but overall from the start of 2019 to now, I would say there's been some nice improvements and definitely progress being made on the game. We got some of the first DLC as well as we saw a lot of updates patching many bugs. Unfortunately, at this point, almost every single update brings the introduction of several new bugs, but even despite this, typically when you actually take together the new content, the balance changes, and the bug fixes, and also what kind of new bugs were added, it's overall a net positive. The new bugs typically aren't really that big of a deal and more of just a minor nuisance until 2 weeks later when they get patched. Well, in this video, I'm going to be talking about one bug that is a little bit more than a minor nuisance. It was added by one of the recent Fallout 76 patches, and it has been affecting a subset of the community and yet not really seeing a major response. Also, funnily enough, despite this being pretty persistent, there is a fix to it, although it's kind of only a temporary fix depending on who you are. Either way, the bug I'm talking about today is stuttering, and you might have seen this in some of my videos. Fallout 76 had some issues with stuttering on release if you didn't have it configured the right way. And this is totally separate from that. I had some problems with that, ended up getting those resolved, and starting in November up until roughly 1 month ago, everything was perfectly okay in that department. But when we finally got the update that brought us the sheep squatch, I and many others noticed a new issue arise with these stutters. It's pretty clear if you watch footage from before that update and compare it to footage from after that update that this did arise right around then, and I think really just the video of it speaks for itself. You could see that just periodically my game will freeze for a variable amount of time. Sometimes it's relatively minor, just a couple hundred milliseconds, and then things are back to normal. Other times though, it actually does get into several seconds, which although that probably sounds fairly minor, hopefully the footage conveys why that isn't. And take into account, I was getting these pretty often. It's not like it was once every 20 minutes, but rather several times even within 1 minute. The weird part was though, it wasn't consistent. Sometimes you would get really bad ones when in combat or in busy sections when a ton of stuff was going on, but other times you were just running around and there was next to no enemies around you, or even occur in a menu, not even in the game world at all. Originally I thought maybe it had something to do with loading new areas, but sometimes it would run around in circles and it would also occur. For a decent amount of time, I just kind of put up with this and dealt with it, but over the past month it kind of accumulated to one of those issues that is really frustrating. Like after playing the game for an hour or so, I basically just want to quit because I've been dealing with stutters for that entire hour. Doing some research, you could actually see there are several other people dealing with this on all kinds of different platforms. I'm getting it on PC, I've heard of other people dealing with it on PC, but even on Xbox One and PS4, it seems like it is a pretty persistent issue. And if I didn't make videos on this game, there are several times where the stuttering just got to a point where I was like, alright, I don't want to play anymore because it's getting so frustrating. Especially as a melee character, if you're fighting a bunch of enemies off and suddenly the game freezes for 2 seconds or so, it could lead to your death, or it could lead to everything around you drastically shifting. But naturally following this, I did try several remedies or fixes, whether it be changing the resolution of the game or changing graphic settings. That didn't really lead to anything better, and the other basic things like monitoring the aspects of your system, trying to update drivers, but none of that was really working. The only solution I found was literally lowering all graphical settings to low and lowering the resolution, which really wasn't a true fix. But in the end, the way to actually fix this stuttering issue that has been bothering so many of us for the past month or so is to remove your friends. No, literally, if your friends list has too many friends on it, it'll actually cause this problem seemingly. I'm obviously in a bit of a unique situation with my friends list. There's no way I could kind of restrict who could send me a friend request, so whenever I live stream, post a video or anything, I typically will get several friend requests. Especially during live streams, I'll typically get a huge influx as people watching me live do want to join my world. For this reason, there's a ton of requests I just never have time to accept. So following the advice of some people I read online, I started deleting all of these incoming friend request. And even as I'm doing this, you could see there's like a freezing or lag in the background. But as I progressed through the list and actually worked my way up it, that lag started getting smaller and smaller until it was almost non-existent. And then after deleting all of these and actually going back in game, you could see the issue had resolved itself. I no longer had stutters every 30, 40, 50 seconds, and I could play the game again like I could previously. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it seems like all of this actually started after patch 8. Something must have been changed with the friends list or how that's handled on the back end. It was that same patch that actually broke the friends list in a different way. If you guys do remember, it changed the order of the friends list, making it all out of order and seemingly random. I'm not really sure what was changed, because as far as the user experience goes, the friends list has mostly remained the same between now and that patch. But behind the scenes, definitely something's going on. If you're experiencing this stutter problem, you might have to just delete some of your friends, which is honestly really ironic considering Fallout 76 is a multiplayer game. A lot of the posts I've read say that roughly between 100 and 150 friends is okay, but as you start to exceed that number, even surpass 200 friends, you might start having some of these problems and have to remove people. Now, of course, that isn't the end of the world, and for many, you'll never even come close to that. But for a lot of people who are active in the trading community, you might consistently be adding people that you don't really know, either just to join their server to trade with them, or alternatively if you want to join a Scorched Beast event or something else going on their server that you want to see. It also is rather frustrating that this was something kind of added to the game. It wasn't there since launch, so hopefully that also means it can be something removed from the game. As I imagine, for me at least, it'll probably pop up again. As I continue playing Fallout 76, I'll probably get more friend requests and eventually have to remove a ton of people all over again. But yeah, honestly, kind of a funny one. Something that's been really frustrating for me, and I know for a lot of you since you've sent me messages about this issue, but hopefully now you know how you can resolve it. But hey, to end this video on a more positive note, there's actually several interesting additions to the Atomic Shop in Fallout 76. Firstly, there's just, your general miscellaneous items that you can find, a bunch of bar stuff, some free stuff, one of which is a pretty cool new basically bowl you can place at your settlement. You can place some of the alcoholic items in Fallout 76 in this bowl and actually share it with everyone in your camp. Even further, we got this new power armor paint job that just looks really awesome. It's the second of the Riders of the Apocalypse skins, and this one is significantly cooler than the first one. There are 4 of these in total, but something actually really interesting. As I was getting some of these panning shots, I noticed that there's some interesting details. You can notice certain weapons are kind of integrated into the skin, one of which is the Chinese assault rifle. I tried comparing this to the handmade rifle, which is already in game, and that's the only other weapon I could think that it might resemble. But if you compare the barrel ends of this one to the Chinese assault rifle as it appeared in Fallout 3, they're pretty freaking similar. Even though the grip and stock region is a bit different, this is seemingly a weapon not presently in Fallout 76. Although in the files of the game and actually in a terminal in game, you could find references to this. I and several others have speculated it would get added in one day, and based off this, it certainly looks like at least part of the model and the textures are complete, which indicates to me that it will probably get added at some point. But even further, there's another revolver in there, and although the revolver grip looks pretty similar to the regular revolver, the actual barrel of this one doesn't. It almost looks like a modified version of that gun, which should appear in Fallout New Vegas. Although it is quite distinctively different, the overall shape is kind of similar, but this also just could be something totally new that Bethesda is teasing through skins as almost an Easter egg, which is kind of cool. Either way, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you found it informative. Maybe I just helped you and solved a major problem you were having. But with that, as always, again, I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.